Hello everyone. In this video we will see Byron as a nature poet, and in the context of the poem there is a pleasure in the pathless wood. Okay. So how he has shown as a nature poet in this poem, and he is a nature lover in reality. So, as this is the theme of this poem, so we are going to discuss this poem in the context with this theme, how Byron as a nature poet. Okay, so a very famous line from this poem is there: I love not man the less, but nature more. So he says that it's not so that I don't love the men, but I love nature more in comparison to man. Now let's see the introduction from where this poem has been taken, and what are the things which you should know about this poem. So Lord Byron is one of the most popular poets of 19th century England. The poem There is a Pleasure in the Pathless Wood is an extract from Canto 4 of the Child Harold Pilgrimage. So it is a very big poem, Harold Pilgrimage, and from the Canto 4 of this poem, Child Harold Pilgrimage. This poem, the actual poem which we are going to discuss here, it is taken from the Canto 4 of Child Harold Pilgrimage. Okay, and the last nine stanzas of this poem, Child Harold Pilgrimage, are given in the title of There is a Pleasure in the Pathless Wood. It is an autobiographical poem, so we will see the side of Lord Byron's character, and which is how he has been a nature as a nature poet. Okay, so in the context of poem only we will see how he was a nature poet. Now first point is nature as a spiritual companion. So he finds nature as spiritual companion. He enjoys the spiritual companionship of nature. Byron loves nature and does not feel lonely in the woods. He does not feel lonely in the company of ocean. He says that there is a pleasure in the woods which are extended on all sides. Okay, so the pleasure comes from all the sides of nature. Similarly, there is joy in being all alone by the seashore. Here in nature, Byron finds spiritual companionship. No one interferes, no one interludes. So, no kind of interference is there, and no kind of interlude or break is there between him and nature. Now, next is forgetful of his personal identity. Okay, so he wants somewhere escapism from even from himself, and in the company of nature, he forgets himself even. So his personal identity is gone, and now he totally enjoys in the company of nature. So what happens in that? In the company of nature he forgets his petty tormented self. Okay, so how he is suffering mentally and physically, what are the petty things or petty matters, small matters are going on in his life, he forgets about all those things. It is a process of depersonalization when he does not think about himself at all, and it saves him from himself. And here it is a very great thing when he says that he is saved from himself, because his mind is tormented, he is mentally tortured. So all the things are gone in the company of nature, ever haunted by his sense of sin, and the guilts which are there in his life, the sense of crime and sins and retribution means what will be the punishment of his crimes. He does not think about all these things, and by a sinister fate, sinister that means which makes you feel that something bad will happen. So he does not think about his future anymore. That would leave him alone, and due to that he feels alone, and this is not happening in the company of nature. So he says that he steals from all he may be or have been before to mingle with the universe. So he escapes. For this word steal we can say he escapes from him. He escapes himself from all the things which are there in his life and which have been in his life before mingling with the universe, or universe here we can say nature. And specifically in this poem we see that how he talks about the companionship of ocean. He merges his own self into nature. He himself mingling, merging himself in the nature. His smallness is transcended by the bigness of nature. So he knows how small he is, and his smallness is transcended or turned into or converted into the bigness of nature. So it is a great point when he forgets all the worries, all the tensions of his life. He doesn't think about his personal identity, whereas he mingles, he emerges, or he goes deep in the ocean, and he now no more think about himself. Okay, so up till now we have seen 2 points. One is how nature is a spiritual companion to him. Next is forgetful of his personal identity. Now let's see some more. Now, next point is man versus nature. Now, he shows in the poem how man is so small in comparison to or in front of nature. So, man thinks that he has everything, he can do anything, but it is not. Byron says that man has not been able to conquer the ocean in spite of all his power and means. So man is having illusion that he is powerful, he has all the means. Of course, we cannot deny that man has all his means, power, and equipments to do anything now. But somewhere he says that ocean is inconquerable by even man, because it is the it is beyond human power. Man can spread ruin on earth, but not on the bosom of the ocean. Man can spread ruins on the earth. He can destroy. He can create large destruction, but not on the bosom, on the chest of the ocean. Man's deadly armaments may shatter the walls of cities built high on rocks and strike terror in the hearts of monarchs. Okay, so what are the works, or what can be done by man with his deadly armaments, weapons, ammunitions? He can shatter the walls of cities built, those are built high on rocks, and he can strike terror in the hearts of monarchs, in the hearts of people who are ruling, who are in ruling, or authorities who are there to to see the to see the subjects of monarchs. So it can create terror in the minds or in the hearts of people, but it cannot create any harm, any destruction to ocean. Now he says the huge ships might ride the seas. Okay, so ships are riding on the seas, and the ocean marked the Spanish Armada's pride and the victory of Trafalgar. But here he points out that one should not forget that all ocean marked, ocean spoilt or ruined the pride of Spain, Spanish Armada's pride, and the victory of Trafalgar was also spoilt by ocean. And cities like, or places like Assyria, Greece, Rome, Carthage, they owed their power and supremacy to the ocean. So they have achieved power and supremacy because of ocean. And here Carthage is an ancient city state which is founded by Phoenicians near present day Tunisia. So it is also a place, they are now no more are and or under the rule of an alien enslaved or occupied by barbarians. So see what has happened, what is their future, that they were under the rule of aliens who are enslaved or occupied by barbarians. So ultimately they had their tragic end, whereas nature is as it was always. Now, the last point is characteristics of ocean. Here we will see the ocean or the characteristics of ocean from the eyes of Byron. The ocean is unchanged and eternal. So we saw that third point, and accordingly we can say, and Byron is also saying that ocean is unchanged and eternal. The poet has loved the ocean from his boyhood. So from his childhood, he used to love the ocean very much. He would swim on its currents. Then, at that time, he used to enjoy, he used to swim in the currents of ocean, drifting like its bubbles that alternately appeared and disappeared. And he is drifting, he is moving like the currents of ocean, which come alternately. Sometimes they are appearing and sometimes they get disappeared. He had recklessly played with its waves, which offered him every delight. And recklessly, rigorously, without any break, he is playing with its waves, and which offered him great delight. He has trusted his life to it. He has sported on his bosom when he was a boy. So he used to sport, he used to play on the chest of the ocean when he was a small kid. Byron says that his task is now ended. Now he is a grown up man and his task is now ended. His songs die into an echo. His inspiration is at ebb now. Ebb means something which is going down, but he realizes that he is changed from what he was. So now it's a journey of life, and now he has changed a lot, and he bids his farewell to ocean, but he cannot help lingering over it. So as he has grown up, so he cannot spend that much time or more time than usual on something. So on the bosom, on the chest of ocean, he used to enjoy when he was a boy, but now he cannot, because now he has other things also, and now he is bidding his farewell to the ocean. So this is how this poem gets ended. Okay, so that's it for this video. So here to encapsulate this video, I would say how Byron, as a great lover of nature, when he feels nature as his spiritual companion, he loses himself while he is with nature. He loves nature for its power, and how he shares the characteristics of ocean while he was a boy and used to enjoy the company of nature. So, these all are the things which are discussed or uh, given for the readers like us, and this made this poem a great one. And I hope you all must agree that this is a great poem written by Byron. And do tell me what kind of topics you want to see in my upcoming videos. If any query is there, do write me in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.